many things. They also increase property value, up to 25% if you're in a tree-lined neighborhood. They also keep blacktop longer, which saves us money. There's just so many benefits of trees, and of course then they support wildlife. Most of the trees we're planting today, out of the 52, we're planting 48 native oaks. An oak tree can support over 550 species. A chickadee only feeds its babies caterpillars. Only. It doesn't feed them seed, it doesn't feed them grasshoppers, nothing, just caterpillars. And where do caterpillars come? 90% of caterpillars come from oak trees. So if we don't have oak trees, we don't have chickadees, and we don't have a lot of other birds. Most birds feed caterpillars, and caterpillars aren't just from butterflies, they're from moths. A lot of moths have caterpillars. So that's the whole circle that we're trying to restore here, and you guys are doing your part. So thank you very much.
All right.
Yes, woo, okay. All right, we're going to talk about safety. Lots of you have your glasses on top of your head, and I've got them in my hand, which is not good. So I'm going to put them on right now, and all of you are going to also. If you don't have goggles, we have them over here. It's imperative that you wear them. Don't put them on top of your head. We've had one of our workers, he did it for 3 seconds, put it on top of his head. He walked into a tree. He was out for a week and a half, and he almost lost his eye. Duh. We can't have that happening, okay? When we dig, we call Miss Utility before we dig these holes. Last week, Miss Utility marked all the holes, and then we found out as we're digging, we hit a wire. We had to stop for 2 hours to find out what it was. It was an old wire just left. But it's really important that you call Miss Utility. You all have an orange vest on, or a green vest. You are not Superman. These are not going to stop cars. So you look both ways before you cross the street. We're going to ask you to stay with your team leaders, and we're going to spread you out a little bit so it's not so crazy and you guys aren't pushing each other in the street. If you find rocks, small ones or even big ones, leave them in the hole. I'm not taking anything away from here, okay? The roots will work their way around the rocks. We want to clean up the soil when we're done. You've got brooms, you've got shovels, we've got ways to keep this clean. We don't want this to become this dirt starts getting washed into the Rappahannock again, and we become the problem. So first of all, before you do anything with a tree, you're going to cut off the top of that wire, the rope that's there, because if you put it up, then we can't reach it, okay? Secondly, we've cut off the wire, and then you're going to have it like here. It's got a lot of sharp edges to it. Be careful. Step on it. By the way, you're all going to get muddy. These holes are muddy as heck. I'm sorry. Okay. You've got all of these tools. Every one of these bags has a cutter, and it's got some plastic. Let's grab these plastics. So we're going to put one over here. Let's start with one. Okay, so we're going to put the plastic down because it's easier if you shovel the soil onto the plastic. So let's move all your equipment out of the way first. We're going to slide the tree. Can you just slide the tree back? Off of the hole. It's heavy. That weighs about 300-400 pounds sometimes. So now we put this down, because if we put this down, it's going to be a whole lot easier, and we're going to put a shovel full of dirt to hold it down. Meanwhile, 2 of the team members are going to start shoveling. The other 2 team members are going to get another piece of plastic. So you're going to use your clippers. Your team leader's going to have that. They're going to cut this burlap off. We're taking off all the packaging. So if you hire somebody in your yard to put a tree in and they don't take off the packaging, escort them off your property, because that tree is going to sit inside that packaging for the rest of its life and become an unsafe tree. What we want to do is have the roots spread out. trees need oxygen, just like you. I want everybody to put your hands over your mouth and nose and tell me how long you're going to live. Okay? Not so much. Same with trees. We're not going to go down too deep, Frank, okay? So, trees need oxygen first and foremost, and most of the oxygen is at the top 12 to 18 inches of the soil. In this subdivision, it's so compacted, it's probably only 12 inches. So even these big trees that you see are only 12 inches down with their roots, but they're going out. So when we look at roots, the small feeder roots are just like little threads. If the ground is hard and dry, they can't spread out. If they can't spread out, the roots can't grow. If the roots don't grow, the crown doesn't grow. The crown talks to the roots and says, I need more roots. The roots say, I need more crown. And they balance each other out. That's what they do. It's a hormone in there called auxin, and they balance the entire time. So more roots means a bigger, healthier tree. If it can't get oxygen, it's going to be unhealthy. We have trees that we planted 14 years ago that are now 52 feet tall. Okay? That's because they got plenty of oxygen, and we put lots of thin mulch, thin, not mulch volcanoes that you see over at Central Park. Okay. Yeah, if you got nails, you can throw them in the hole or you can put them in your pocket. I don't care. That's how the burlaps held on to. So now they're going to flip it over, watching out for this wire. Okay. I can't get the wire still. Okay. Okay, so now you've got your back to them, Carl, so that's, okay. So now they're going to, remember I said the roots don't go down very far. When they harvested these trees at the nursery, they took off 90% of the roots. But roots grow really fast if they've got a way to grow. Remember I said that. So we're going to make our mulch beds really nice and wide. Careful there. Okay. The first year a tree doesn't do anything. It just sits there and gets ready. First year a tree sleeps. Second year the tree creeps. The third year is when the tree establishes itself and it leaps. So now what we're going to be looking for here is the collar of the tree. If we look behind Keith over here, you see there's a flare. If we don't see the flare, the tree is buried too deep. For every inch a tree is buried too deep, it reduces the oxygen by 10%. 5 inches too deep, that tree's probably going to die. So now, can you turn that so they can see that a little bit? Okay, or just pull some more off of the other side. Here, I'll get it. Never mind. Here. Okay. Okay, so we're down to taking quite a bit of that soil off, and we can see the flare here now, right there. And we've got some what we call sucker roots at the top, and your tree steward, who's going to be leading your group, will take those off. So this tree was buried 3 inches too deep, 30% less oxygen, not good. But now we're ready to put it in. We're going to make sure that when we put the soil back in, that flare is above soil level. So what we do is we take usually a stake and we put it across, and that's going to be fine. Better high than low, okay? And remember that hole is a little bit wet. When he dug it, he stomped on the bottom of it. So we're going to use mostly the native soil that we took out. It's going to be much better. So the soil that you guys dug out, we're going to put back in the hole. And as we're doing that, we're going to use one of the stakes, and you can all do this. We're not going to stomp on this, but we're going to tap it in there so there's no air pockets. See how easy that is with that plastic? You don't have any, and we didn't leave any mess over there. So one person is going to hold the tree to make sure it's straight, and then Steve, I'll give you a stick. There we go. And you can use the end of your shovel as well. But you're going to tap it in there to make sure it goes down in. Don't leave any. Now this is really wet soil, so you don't have to stomp the heck out of it. Just tap it a little. Okay, now I told you we're not taking anything away, so what are we going to do with the soil? We're going to spread it around out here, but we're not going to bury the collar and the tree. So we're going to spread it out a little farther. Can we do that?
Ready? Take the plastic too.
Oops, I tried to grab the metal, but it wasn't there.
I got it.
Okay. So Frank's going to take this and he's going to stomp it down and make it into a nice little tight ball. Then you can leave it by the hole. But you don't want anybody getting scratched or cut with that. Give me a rake. Okay. If you've got grass, just turn it upside down and it'll die. Not too much stomping. Just use your toe when you put that in there. So we've got the flare. I like to see a lot of the flare. We good there?
Ready?
Yep. Give me a broom, would you?
Sure. I'll finish that if you want.
Okay. So we've got an arbor guard. We want to prevent death by string trimmer. So we're going to put these at the base. You're going to fold them down so it doesn't rise up above the tree. And when you look at the bottom, it should look like they're white. Because if they're white, they're going to stay bent and stay down. If you leave them, they're not bent enough, they'll ride up at the tree, and then somebody with a string trimmer will get underneath there and try to kill that tree. And they're good at it. They're really good at it. Okay, so what we've got here, we put the mulch. We've got our arbor guard on here. Next we're going to do, everybody pay attention. We've only had to call the 911 twice, and it's because people didn't listen on this. So what we did not do, and we didn't talk about this, but tree stewards, look at your orientation before we finish. We kind of didn't adjust this. This actually turned out well, but you want to make sure that your major branching is running this way if you can, so it's not going into people's faces or people's cars, okay? So when we do one stake at the curb, and I want two of the UMW folks to come on over here if you would. And where's my pounder? Okay, so couple things that could happen and go wrong. Frank, could you show them what could go wrong?
Lean it over to me. I don't want to lift it up.
That thing weighs about 20 or 30 pounds. So what can happen if you do this wrong is you do this, you catch it at the top, it bounces and it hits you in the head, and then we call 911. We've only had to do this twice. They didn't listen. What we're going to do though, when I had my landscaping business, I had all women crew. We didn't have the muscle, but we worked smart. So you want to take that side? And I'm going to do this first.
Okay.
And so what you do is you use your knees. Use your weight. So you go up and go down with your knees. Okay? I'm 76 years old and I can still do this, okay? All right. One more. Okay, we're going to check it out. Pull it off carefully. There we go. Make sure that's still not in there good enough because that's got to stay there for probably almost a year. So we're going to do it again, really hard now. Pull down. Okay, I think that's it. Okay. Okay, so that's a good one. Check it, make sure it's in there solid. Okay, the guys are going to finish this up. Thank you.
On this tree, because there's little branches here, we can use them to keep these from sliding down. If there weren't any branches here, we would interleave these through each other so that they support each other. And then as we're putting these on, we're checking to make sure that the tree is good and straight from the side and from the other direction too, from the sidewalk. And over time, while we're watering them, we'll check them again and adjust them as necessary.
Thanks again for coming to a tree planting today with Tree Fredericksburg. We're filming this today for the Tree Steward Manual. Unit 8 is on tree planting. There's so many details that are important, especially at the beginning of a tree planting. Once you plant it, you're going to walk away from that tree and it's on its own. So every step of the way you go and do this perfectly as you can possibly do it, paying attention to all the details, is going to really help this tree thrive and contribute to our community, because it's green infrastructure, and that's what's really important. It contributes, this tree will contribute maybe $3,000, $4,000, $5,000 of services, ecological services to our community. Multiply that by the tens of thousands of trees we have in our community, and all of a sudden we are blessed with trees. Have a great day.